Okay, I have some vocabulary words on the screen that towards the end of last class, because we were looking at a poem that had these words, I asked you to look up the meanings. You all remember this? Right. Now, there are some pictures, and I want you to see if you could match the words to the pictures that are there, right? To help us understand what the words mean before we go back to the poem. So I'm actually going to number the pictures for us. For this one, 1, 2. So I'm just going to go like a clock. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? All right. So if I ask you which picture shows you a dome, or here's a 12. I forgot about this car. This is a number 12. Right? Which of these pictures is showing you a dome? Can you tell me in the chat? Which picture is a picture of a dome? Right, number 6. Great. So what is a dome? A dome is just a curved roof, right? So if you've ever seen a mosque, then you've seen domes. And of course, there are some fancy city buildings where the roof is shaped like a dome. Um, that's how it's built, right? Right. Now here's an unusual word that you don't really come across. Lugubrious. Which picture conveys to us lugubrious? Or what is lugubrious? Okay, so people are saying number 1. Number 1. Most people are saying number 1. All right, what is a much simpler word for lugubrious? Like a 3-letter word for lugubrious. Sad. Yes, exactly. Good. Great. Yes. Sad, down, melancholy. Yeah. All right. So sad, right? Okay. Monotone. Which picture shows monotone? It could be more than one. Which one shows monotone? Number 7. Is number 7 for sad or for monotone? Monotone usually means sort of one unchanging color, right? Now the words are related, so you might see some overlap in the picture. So if, for instance, you look at in picture 3, everything except the yellow, the person in yellow is monotone, right? In picture 5, everything except the thing in red is monotone. But I had in mind number 10. Actually, I realized that I left out a word here. I should have put tenements on the thing, on the list as well, right? But here we're going to say monotone. And at the same time, we could also say tenement. So what do these words mean in plain English? Ready? Okay, so monotone means a lack of variety or change. Yeah, so like things are the same color, changing in color, or unchanging really, because somebody could their voice could be monotone. And it's like their voice is just like a steady drone. It doesn't go up or down in pitch or volume, and it puts you to sleep. Unchanging, right? All right. Tenement is usually an apartment. So that one and this picture too, 10 and 11, right? Like an apartment complex. But the apartments are really close together. And it's not usually right. It's not usually like a rich people place. It's like budget housing. Right? That's the connotation of the word tenement. As opposed to like if you say townhouse or if you say condominiums, right? Those are also apartment. Those, well, the townhouse could be an apartment that someone is renting, and the condos are definitely apartments, or a penthouse is an apartment, but those have the connotation of like wealth, right? Tenement does not. Okay. Antique. Which picture is antique? 12 for sure. Any other picture? Maybe two, yes. Number two, that's an antique form of light, an oil lamp, right? So 12 and 2. So antique means very old, very, very, very old, right? Not just a little old, but very old. All right. What is indifferent? Which pictures show you indifferent? Nine or three indifferent. Well, oh, okay, yeah. I guess the people in three are indifferent because their backs are towards us, so they don't care about us. They are indifferent. Yeah. Seven. Yeah. When I looked up when I was putting together the pictures, I thought number seven was indifferent and number nine was indifferent. Um, Indifferent has to do with feelings, right? It does not have to do with differences, so it wouldn't be 4 or 5, right? So indifferent is sort of like not caring. So to me, this person is indifferent. This emoji is indifferent. And this person to me is also indifferent. Right? All right, last one now, incongruous. Which pictures show something incongruous? Yes. Okay, so Kaylee is giving us a more detailed definition for indifferent, having a lack of interest, concern, or sympathy. So the person is very passive. Okay, so incongruous, number 3, number 4, number 5, incongruous. What is incongruous? If I say 3, 4, and 5, what does that mean? It's because of this, and because of this, and because of this. Not in harmony, correct. Something that does not belong, something that sticks out. Right? It does not match. Right? Sticks out like a sore thumb. A word that conveys something similar is conspicuous. right? And that is something that stands out. Right? Okay, were there any other words in the poem that you all didn't know, were confused by, wanted to ask about? These are the ones I remember, but if you remember anything else at any point, you could ask. Right, so it's not in keeping with the surroundings, incongruous. Congruous is not a word, out of place, yes. Unsuitable, yeah. Different from the rest, yes. Okay, so 10 more seconds on this slide, and then we go back to the poem. Now, my goals for today are discuss the poem, discuss it so much that at the end of it, you'll think, oh, this poem is, I understand everything there is to know about this poem now. Nothing surprises me or confuses me. Then look back at fact or opinion. I have some sentences for you to tell me if it's fact or opinion. And then work on a report together. I have a scenario to give you, a dialogue for you to listen to, and then we'll write the report as though we were the police officer that handled the call. Right? We will not finish the report. We will only start the report, but that's okay. At least I don't think we'll finish the report. Okay, so let's move on from this slide and let's look back at the poem. Now, poems are like little puzzles, just not fun, interesting ones with a picture you could look at to help you build the puzzle. I mean, at least I don't think they're always fun and interesting to young people. So for this poem, we're going to read it through once, but then in the later slides, I have some pictures to help us understand what is going on in the different sections of the poem, right? This is a link to a quiz. It's basically just these comprehension questions on the right-hand side here for you to submit your answers to. And you have 2 weeks to complete it and send it, right? No, so I'm sending it in the chat and I will post it online later tonight after supposed to record it, right? Now, if you are quick, if you're a quick person and your device allows, as we answer the questions, you could fill in your answers in the quiz, right? But you should definitely take down the answers as we discuss them so that later on when you're doing the homework assignment, it will be easier, right? All right. Mostly the point of this exercise is not to test you on poetry, it's to see who is paying attention in class, right? So if you can give me back correct answers, then I know that you're taking good notes and you're paying attention, right? Okay. So let's look at the poem once more. The moonlight breaks upon the city's domes and falls along cemented steel and stone. Upon the grayness of a million homes, lugubrious in unchanging monotone. Upon the clothes behind the tenement that hang like ghosts suspended from lines, linking each flat to each indifferent. Incongruous and strange, the moonlight shines. There is no magic from your presence here. No moon, sad moon, tuck up your trailing robe, whose silver seems antique and so severe against the glow of one electric glow. Goes for your beauty on the laughing faces of happy flowers that bloom 1,000 hues, waiting on tiptoe in the wilding spaces to drink your wine mixed with sweet draughts of dew. We didn't talk about drafts, but a draft is like a drink, right? Something that you drink. So you could have a draft of water, you could have a draft of juice, you could have a draft of, that's all I have right now, right? Usually is used in an alcoholic context, but we're not adults in the class, so I'm gonna use milk and juice as examples, right? Draft just means drink. All right. So the stuff in bold. The moonlight breaks upon the city's dome. So what time of day is it? If they're talking about moonlight, what time of day is it? Good, it's nighttime. And they're in the when they say cities domes, what they mean that the moon is shining on? How do we say that in plain English? Well, when you read later down and you see homes, you know it's homes, right? To me, when he said the reason he says cities domes is to say city buildings. It could be a mosque, but I just use mosque as an example that everybody has seen a domed building for because you've probably seen a mosque, right? But the structures in the yes, the structures in the city probably town build office buildings as well as tenements, right? All right, so cemented steel and stone. So the building is made out of cement and steel and stone, right? Upon the grayness of a million homes, the color, the predominant color is gray, like cement. Lugubrious in unchanging monotone. So we said sad in terms of how it does not change color. Have any of y'all ever been to a city and you thought to yourself, this is not somewhere I would like to live? It's so depressing. Some of us need trees around and mountains around and rivers around. And this place where the moon is shining is just gray and cement and stone, as well as some people find that appealing. Right? It varies from person to person. What does which line mean? Lugubrious and unchanging monotone? That part. Um, it probably means sad in its grayness. So the moonlight shines on the city rooftops, right? And it falls on the cement buildings upon all these gray tenements. I mean, he's saying a million homes, but he doesn't literally mean a million. He's using hyperbole. Probably, right? I don't know what city he's in, so I can't say that for sure there. And when he says lugubrious and unchanging monotone, he means it's so sad the way the color doesn't change. I remember the first time I visited New York. I only visited once actually, so I shouldn't say first time. I was much younger, and it was cold, but it was very to me. It was very gray. It was just buildings, and it was streets and traffic, and a lot of people. And I was like, "This is okay to visit, but I do not ever want to live here." So, but perhaps I mean, if y'all ever go to whatever the capital city is, like going to Port of Spain is a similar experience. I have no wish to live here, or to go there on a regular basis, right? Right. So I think that's the type of place he's talking about. Wherever the place is, it feels oppressive to him because it's just one gray color. And right. All right. So and I have a picture on the right here that shows what a tenement could look like. See, so people are they're very close together. We're stacked one on top of the other. Um, and the color is the same. It's not like each apartment has its own, different color scheme. That might make it interesting to look at instead of just one brown building. All right, let's go to the next piece of the point. So then the next four lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. Upon the clothes behind the tenement, so this is still the moon shining, right? Upon the clothes behind the tenement that hang like ghosts suspended from lines. So he's literally talking about hanging clothes, right? And he's saying they're like ghosts. Why would he call them ghosts, you think? Why does he choose to use the word ghost? When you hear ghost, what do you think of? What do you picture in your head? The clothes being flappy, yes, that is valid. They're floating, valid, yes. Because no people are in them. That is very interesting, yes. So yeah, they look like ghosts and there are no people in them, so they are ghosts, right? They could be white. I picture white sheets being hung from the lines, right? Um, and he also chooses, like, he didn't say they hang like tablecloths or they hang like towels, something big. What else is big enough? They hang like kites. He didn't say those words. He chose to use the word ghost because he's building up this atmosphere in the poem of, at least the first part of the poem, of sad things, right? Of unhappy things. So he had words like sad and unchanging and monotone and cemented and grayness, right? Those are not cheerful words. Yes. So you could visually see it, and then the connotation of the word is important too, right? All right. Um, linking each flat to each indifferent. So what does that line mean? The clothes are connecting the flats together, and then to each indifferent. Who is indifferent to whom? It's unclear, so just take a stab at interpreting it, right? But probably, well, yeah, it could be the clothes, or it could be the flats are indifferent. Because it says linking each flat to each indifferent, right? So each flat, so maybe this each is just another flat. And then what is he saying there? That the people, the neighbors don't care about each other? He's suggesting the neighbors don't care about each other. The residents, right? It's a suggestion, it's just a hint. It's not a big clear point, but he's saying, probably the people here, they don't care, right? And he says, incongruous and strange, the moonlight shines, right? So now, what's he saying about the moonlight? When he calls the moonlight incongruous and strange, what is he saying about it? Does it belong in this place? It does not seem to belong here. Correct. According to the speaker, the poet, right? When we think of moonlight, normally, what are the connotations? What are the things we associate with moonlight? What happens by moonlight? Moonlight is like a soft kind of light. It usually makes things seem nicer and gentler, right? I mean, that's one set of conditions. Another set is what? That's when you might see witches flying on brooms in the moonlight, or monsters walking around at night, if you believe in those, right? So so he's saying, either way, this is not a place for the moon so far. And it becomes clearer in the next paragraph, right? Let's look. There is no magic from your presence here. So moonlight is magical normally. O moon, sad moon, tuck up your trailing robe, whose silver seems antique and so severe against it. So what does that mean? So he's saying, he's telling the moon, pick up your moonlight and pack it up and move along. What other type of light is referenced in the poem there in this verse? It was hard to find that particular picture, but he says um, one electric globe, one street light, right? One street light. And then he talks about trailing robe. And when I looked for pictures of trailing robes, this is what I could find. These robes that like meet people's feet, right? So just like the robes fall to your feet, the moonlight falls to the earth, I guess, right? So it's just an image of moonlight spreading is what he's trying to convey, right? Well, to me, that is what trailing robe implies. That okay, so you can see, do I have a better picture for it? No. Um, in this second picture here, you can see the moonlight kind of spread throughout the sky, and then the buildings kind of block it out, right? To me, that is what the trailing robe would be. How the moonlight reflects on clouds and these things in the atmosphere on the environment, right? All right. If anything is still confusing, right. Okay, so Anaya is saying the moonlight is out of place in the city. Yes, exactly. That is what the poet seems to be saying, right? The link to the quiz that I sent, you have 2 weeks to do it. But if some people are super efficient and they want to work on it now while we're doing this, they could. But you need to take notes. I mean, we can get to the writing part yet, but you need to follow along here, right? You could also jot down your answers in your notebook and have it for later when you're answering it in the quiz. Okay. Go spill your beauty on the laughing faces of happy flowers that bloom 1,000 hues. So where is he telling the moon to go? Where is the speaker telling the moon to go? A place where there's a lot of what? Some happier place where what is growing? Happier place, joy, activities where flowers are growing. Yeah. All right. So go spill your beauty on the laughing faces of happy flowers that bloom 1,000 hues. A hue is a color. I forgot to put that with it. And I put 1,000 hues on the top. Each square represents a hue. I mean, it's repeated, but hue is another word for color, right? So some other colorful places with flowers that bloom, waiting on tiptoe in the wilding spaces. Now, this phrase always drives people crazy because they're like, what is the wilding space? Is that a word I don't know? Is that a vocabulary word I'm supposed to know? Well, no. It's the poet being creative with language, right? But what word do you recognize? You recognize wild. To drink your wine mixed with sweet draughts of dew. Now, what is dew? This purple flower here has some dew on it. Some of you wake up really, and here is a drop, right? Some of you wake up a drink. Some of you wake up really early to catch school buses to go to school, right? And some of you might even wake up before the sun comes up. Sometimes on the grass outside, there are little beads of water. That's dew, condensation, right? So where is he sending him? The moon starts off in the city, and where is the speaker telling the moon to go? What do you make of the phrase the wilding spaces? What is that? What does this picture convey to you when you look at it down here? Gardens. Yeah, I would agree with gardens. I might not agree with parks. A meadow, possibly. Oh, this looks like the sun. Okay, pretend this is the moon. Moon, moon, moon. This is the moon. Look, some stars still out. Moon. A field, I would agree with field. Right? You could tell me the countryside, an untouched area, right? You see, if you tell me park, then that implies somebody set it up with a gate. It could still be in a city. It may or may not, but it has the word wilding in the poem. So that implies like natural, that implies little human involvement kind of thing. Whereas a park is like a place that people made. A forest, maybe. But it has to have flowers. A meadow, yes, I think. A field of flowers, yes. Countryside for sure, yes. Right? All right. Look back at the poem. Any questions about the poem? Any phrases you think you don't understand? Please, you could ask, right? Now, you don't have to understand every single thing in a poem. A poem works by association a lot of the time. So you get the idea from the words that you know. And poets in general speak in a kind of convoluted way. They change around the order of the words. They use unusual words. They use words that don't always seem to make sense. Because to me, you know what word always gives me trouble in this poem? Understanding why he says that the moonlight seems antique and severe next to a light bulb, right? Like how, I mean, to me, no matter what, moonlight would be gentle. Like that doesn't make sense to me, but I guess there's some connotation. I don't know. What does the last line mean? Okay, so how do I interpret this? Go spill your beauty on the laughing faces of happy flowers. So go shine on flowers that are all these different multicolored flowers that are in the countryside. That's what wilding spaces is, right? To drink your wine mixed with sweet draughts of dew. So what is the moon's wine? That's not a literal thing. The moon doesn't give us wine, right? So probably this is to drink up his moonlight. It's moonlight, right? Mixed with sweet draughts of dew. The water that falls on flowers, that condenses on flowers or plants early in the morning. So this is not a literal thing, right? Um, Maybe it's just meant to say late at night, early morning, when the moon is still out and the condensation is already on the flowers. Right? It's just meant to reinforce the idea of countryside, nature, natural, all those things. All right, last 10 seconds to ask questions about the poem. Well, he is the moon, the moon just there chilling, you know, the moon not doing anything. The moon not taking on anybody. It's the speaker who's telling the moon, move from the city and go to the countryside. We don't have any, you don't have any business here. You have, you know, like, but the moon is just there. It's like talking to a cat. The cat is gonna do what it wants. The moon is gonna do what it wants. Will you get the poem with your homework? Yeah. So you get a link to go to the poem itself, in the quiz, as well as I've copied and pasted lines where you could find the answers next to each question. Did the setting change? I don't think the setting changed, but I do think there are two different settings in the poem, right? So the poet is still in the city, but the poet is creating a picture of the countryside. All right. If you cannot access the questions from the link that I sent, all right, I sent it back here again. You can go to the page with the recordings and you'll see the link there later tonight. Right? You'll have 2 weeks to do this. It's not like you have to rush and do it. No. Okay, I'm clearing this away. Let's look at the questions. I want to make sure everybody knows the answers to the questions. In the picture that I showed, I really thought it was nighttime. But somebody said sun, like they were seeing a sunny picture, and no, that's what it looks like to me too. But I thought that was the moon shining on flowers and plants. So the picture is just meant to help people get a visualization. In the poem, um, well, it's the moon, so it had to be nighttime. The sun is not up yet. Okay, so what is the poem about? What would you say? What did we say the poem was about? Formulate the answer in your head, but basically a speaker talking about a moon or the moonlight not being welcome in the city, right? And instead it should go shine in the, or being out of place in the city, and instead it should go shine in the countryside, right? I think you all can answer number two, no problem. Where is the moon shining? It's shining in the city, right? You can tell me on city buildings, you can tell me on city apartments. Um, what sort of mood or feeling do you associate with this place? All right, so so here is where you could start writing, and your heading could be poetry, right? If you didn't already start jotting down answers, because they were easy, poetry, right? Let's do some mood words for poem. Now, ordinarily, I tell people not to use the words sad and happy. In this case, though, this is probably one of the few poems when the mood, I would give you sad, I would give you the mark for sad. But other words we could use are melancholic, right? Hopeless, right? What other feelings could a poem inspire? The opposite of sad would be happy, but we will say cheerful. These are some general mood words for poems, different poems. Sentimental, yeah. Sorrowful, okay. Nostalgic. This is when they're missing the past. You're missing something in the past. Like maybe you're in secondary school and you're missing the good old days of primary school when things were simpler. All right, what other mood words come to mind for a poem? Gloomy, okay, yeah, that's a good one. Mysterious, okay. Strange. Tense. Anxious. Suspicious, yeah, odd, strange. Right, something could be suspicious. Cautious could be another one. Um, Amused could be one as well. Right, all right, so we have 10, and of course there are lots of others. These are just some examples of how we can think about moods in a poem. Right, so I have A and B here on the screen, but in the quiz is just they're just separated as two different questions. Melancholic is another word for sad. Yeah, puzzling, yeah. Right? I generally don't like when people put the mood is sad or the mood is happy. So these are other words you could use if they fit. I mean, I think in this poem, we might be able to get away with sad. This is one of the few, and oh, and I definitely don't like depressed as the mood, right? Because depressed is like a long-standing, deep feeling of sadness. And it's very There are very few instances when the speaker in the poem is actually depressed, right? All right, 3 words or phrases to support the answer. So we said that the mood is actually sad because you have words like lugubrious, right? I mean, I would even say the word ghost is a clue, right? Indifferent, strange, um, grayness, unchanging monotone, all these words make us feel sad. If we were in that type of environment where these are the main descriptors, we probably would not be super cheerful, right? All right, now, what about personification? What is personification? This is giving, so if you don't know the definition, and if you're thinking of it, you can't tell me what it is right now, you don't know it, right? So giving human attributes, so that can be qualities or the ability to do certain things, to inhuman objects, right? So that also means not that technically means not animals. It's things that are not alive. If it's to animals, it's something different, slightly different. But sometimes in the question, it could be if they don't give you another option, it could be animals, right? Right. Non-humans in human objects given human qualities. All right. So where are some examples of personification in poem? Where is there a thing that is not alive, but it is doing something that people would normally do? Okay, good. So we have two main examples, right? Happy flowers is one. Okay, 3 main examples. I didn't see this one that Justin is pointing out. All right, so we have um sad moon, right? We have tuck up your trailing road because the moon can't wear clothes. So the moon can't feel sad and the moon can't wear clothes. Um, and then happy flowers, right? And I would also say waiting on tiptoe is also, and this drink your wine. Well, giving the flowers the ability to drink, right? Is also personification. If anybody is confused about, take a moment. If you're confused about that, tell me. Laughing faces is another one, yeah. Flowers don't have a face and they cannot laugh. Spill your beauty might be one. That might be a little harder to explain. Well, I guess the moon cannot spill anything because it's not alive. It doesn't have hands, right? Okay, what's the next question? Give one example of contrast. So now we've actually already answered this because somebody asked if the setting changed. And I said the setting didn't necessarily change. It didn't clearly change, right? The speaker is probably still in the city space, but there are two different spaces described. Right? So there's the city space versus the natural space or the wilding space. That's what the poem calls it. And then can we find any other examples of contrast? You could tell me about the color. So you could tell me how the city is gray and monotonous, but in the countryside, it has 1,000 hues. There's plenty color, right? You could tell me about maybe the moon in the city versus the moon. This is a more complicated one. The moon in the countryside, the moon in the city is sad, but the moon in the countryside is beautiful and potentially more active, right? You could tell me the moonlight versus the electric globe as a contrast, right? All right, I think I've done enough talking for now. So I'm giving you 1 more minute with the slides and notes, and you need to. If you need more time, you can tell me, but I don't think you will. Ask any questions you want to ask about the poem before we move on, right? All right, so this is the quiz. Yeah, right. And as I said, we've basically answered all the questions. I'm not checking that you are able to interpret the poem, right? I'm checking that you're listening, you're taking notes, you're paying attention, you're diligent about doing homework. That's what I'm looking for, right? So it will ask you to put in your email. Please put in a correct email, right? Be careful when you put in it in because it's going to send back your response to you. And when I edit the mark, it will send that back to you too. If your email is incorrect, you will not get it, right? I'm asking you for your first and last name and the form that you're in. So I can give you credit for having done the assignment, right? And then, so the instructions up here, please answer the following questions using complete sentences. That's important. And if you click here, it will take you to the poem, right? As well as I went ahead and put sections of the poem above the question. So the question is, what place is the moon shining on? The answer is in this section. To me, it's in this section. You might need to look at the whole poem. I don't know. What sort of mood do you associate with this place? Here's a section that you could draw from to get a mood, right? Etc. etc. Right? When you are done, you submit your answers. Now, okay, here's the next thing, right? The quiz is going to tell you, it's not going to show you your mark until I go in and edit it and adjust the mark, and then you will get it back with the edited mark, right? So I think unless your answer matches mine word for word, which it won't because this is like a free response thing, it's gonna give you 0 until I go and adjust the mark, right? And it's supposed to add up to 25 marks, but somebody's telling me 22, so I don't know why that is. But I'll check it and see, right? So I will check it and adjust the mark. But I'm letting you know it will give you a score of 0 to start with. And then when I adjust the mark, it will fix, right? All right. If you have questions about that, let me know. If you need me to send it to you on your phone, you have to message me, right? And the other thing is that you will go to the Blogspot page. This is Spanish. Okay, sorry. Try thing. Okay, that's not it. Right. You have to go to the Blogspot page. If you message me, I'll send you a link to that. During the break, I'll get it and have it in. Right? And you'll see the quiz link there too later tonight, right? Or if you message me on WhatsApp, I'll send you the link. But you have to message. All right? All right, let's do last week we did some fact and opinion questions, right? All right. We're only business for the first set of 10 here. We won't have time for the next set of 10, and I'm not giving you additional for homework, right? Right now. All right, so fact or opinion. Now remember we said that, let's go back over how we define each of these. Fact is something we can prove, we can verify it. It will be true or false for everyone. Right? Versus opinion, we cannot verify it. It could be true or false for some. Right? So if I say, I am hungry now, no, let me not I, because that I can verify, it's just me. But everyone in class is hungry at the moment. I think everyone in class is hungry at the moment. That's an opinion statement, right? No, maybe it's a little clearer. I think everyone in class or everyone in class should be hungry at this hour. Everyone in class is hungry at this hour. That can be checked too. Should be hungry at this hour of the day. If I say should be, that's what makes it the opinion. Some people would agree with that and some people would say no. But there's no way to verify it, that they should be or they shouldn't be hungry. How would we check? That's not saying clearly that people are or are not hungry. I'm saying that the way the world should work is that at 6 o'clock, 5:30, everybody should be hungry. That's an opinion statement, right? All right. Now so based on our definition for English class, statements that look like fact could be true or they could be untrue. But they could be written as a fact and then they could be verified. So you could have something that is a false statement or a truthful statement, a truthful fact or a false fact, right? And that might sound strange until you remember that throughout time, human beings have believed things that later on in science, and then later on they found out, okay, well, we were wrong. It was really the world not flat. The sun doesn't revolve around us, right? Yeah. I have to look for the link to the Blogspot page, guys, right? I can't do that without disrupting the class. So I will get to during the break. So let's just do this and then we'll take a break. I'll get the Blogspot page and then everybody will be happy. Right. The Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean on Earth. Fact or not fact? I'm not asking if it's true or not. I'm asking if it's fact or not fact. Fact. Great. All right. Pizza tastes better with extra cheese. Is that opinion or is that fact? Right, opinion. The unclear thing is, what does taste better mean? Right? All right. So I'm gonna write in the corner here facts. And the next slide has answers. This one is opinion, right? Because tastes better is the thing that people might disagree on. What does taste better mean? The Earth is the fourth planet from the sun. Fact or not fact? Can we verify it? Whether it's true or not? We can verify it. So then it is a fact, right? But I mean, it's an untrue fact. It's false, correct? that it's false, right? But it is a factual statement, factual type of statement. Now, the other reason this is an important skill is because for your whole life, people are going to be just telling you things and they will make it sound as though what they're saying is fact, when in reality, it's just their opinion disguised as a fact, right? Most cats sleep for about 12 to 16 hours a day. I expect this one to give us trouble. Is this one a fact or is this one an opinion? Can we verify this? Can we do an experiment? And can we check and see what in the experiment the majority of the cats do? You see, yes, we could check it. Right? We could measure. This could be measured. Measurable. Okay, measured, right? Can be measured. And the same for this, can be measured. Right? So we're gonna put this as fact. I don't know if it's, I think the source told me this was true. I mean, you can check out the sources. Chocolate is the best dessert in the world. Right, opinion. Some people don't like chocolate, not everybody likes chocolate. Some people prefer, oh, sorry. Oh my goodness, look at me. I'm writing fact when it's supposed to be opinion. Some people prefer ice cream. If you could only have chocolate or ice cream for the rest of your life, which would you pick? The human bone has 206 bones. Fact or opinion? You could only have chocolate, not chocolate. You could have chocolate flavored things, right? But chocolate itself, you could only have either that or ice cream. What would you choose for the rest of your life? I think I would choose ice cream. Right. This one is a fact because we could verify it. We could find a skeleton and we could count. Reading books is more fun than watching movies. Right. This is opinion. Great. Okay, we have 3 more. Mount Everest is the tallest mountain above sea level. Can we check that? Right. So this counts as a fact. Whether it's a true fact or not, I'm not sure. I think this might be, if you're counting mountains that start under sea level and go up, then there's really a mountain in Hawaii. I don't remember the name right now, right? But if it's above land, I believe it is Mount Everest, right? But either way, this is a factual statement because it could be verified or disproven. Dogs are friendlier than cats. Some people are saying true because they tested it out. I want to say this is opinion, but honestly, I'm not sure about the answer. Let's check it. Let's check the answer. Um, Opinion. Right? This one is opinion. Now, what if I said most dogs are friendlier than cats? Would that be opinion or would that be because just now we said most cats sleep for 12 to 16 hours a day? Dogs can kill people, yes. Cats can too, just maybe they won't go for your throat. They'll find a more secretive way. All right, what is it about this statement that makes it the opinion? I think it's this comparative, right? What does it mean to be friendlier? Does it mean they bite less? Does it mean they tolerate you more? Does it mean um they come up to you? Does it mean they lick you more? What does it mean? Right? So the friendlier is the yes, that's true, dogs can kill people. But the friendlier is the thing that people can that has no objective definition. We can't verify it, right? The Eiffel Tower is located in Rome. Can we is that a fact? Can we verify it or disprove it? One person said politely no. Okay, it's a statement that can be proven or disproven, right? So therefore it counts as a factual statement, but it is not true. Right? So it's false. But it is a factual statement. It is not an opinion. Right? Yes. Right? Remember that for the purpose of this exercise, a fact is something that we can either prove or disprove. It is not, we don't mean is it true or not, right? Your job in English is to work with information. So you have to be able to evaluate the information. You have to know when someone is making something up and trying to pass it off as facts. And you have to know when you have sources, objective sources you could go to check something out, right? All right, enough. Let us take a break. It will be a short break, about 3 or 4 minutes. So about 5:44, we will resume and we want to look at our report, but in that time, right? All right, so 5:44. Okay, so last week we started talking about reports, right? And we said that in the introduction, we generally say what happened, when it happened, who was involved. Then we have the body with the events. And then lastly, we have a conclusion, which is what happened in the end, right? Okay, now I have a dialogue here for you. And I'm gonna play a recording of it, but it's a text to talk recording, so it might sound a little, it's the same voice for both, right? So we're going to follow along with this incident. You can read it on the screen. And as you're reading, you could take, or as you look at the screen, you could take some notes of what happened, right? And then we're going to plan to write a report as the police officer who handled the incident. The police officer will be the dispatcher, and the caller is the person. So as you listen, you will get the details about the person, right?
Police emergency line, what is your location? Hi, I'm at 42 Maple Street. I think someone is trying to break into my house right now. Stay calm. Can you describe what you see? There's a man at my front door, jiggling the handle. He looks nervous. Is he carrying anything, like tools or a weapon? No tools that I can see. He's holding a shopping bag, though. Do you recognize him? Not really. Wait, he looks familiar, but I can't place him. Stay inside, keep the doors locked. Officers are on their way. Okay, I'm in the kitchen with my phone. My heart is racing. You're doing fine. Is the person still at the door? Yes, but now he's knocking softly and calling a name, Susan. That's not me. Interesting. Could he be at the wrong house? Oh, hold on. That's my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins. He must be confused. Do you know him well? Yes, he lives right next door. He's elderly and sometimes forgetful. In that case, you can carefully let him know he's at the wrong door, if you feel safe. Mr. Jenkins, it's Michelle. Your house is one door down. Oh dear. I'm so sorry, Michelle. I thought this was my porch. It's okay, Mr. Jenkins. Dispatcher, thank you. Sorry for the alarm, it was just a mix-up.
Okay, were you all able to hear the record? I should have asked this question earlier, but were you all able to hear the reading of the dialogue? Please don't say no, because I didn't occur. Right, okay, good, yes, good. Right. Now, what are the important details we need for the report from this dialogue? As you all tell me, I'm going to highlight. There are a couple details we did not get that we have to make up for ourselves. The shopping bag, okay, sure, yeah. Where is the shopping bag? Right here, right? I think here, this detail too needs to be noted, right? Right, the location. We need these names. Whoever the police officer is and whoever the caller is, we need a first and last, right? This is important. There's the detail of what is happening, the description, man at the front door jiggling the handle, nervous. And then I feel like you could potentially give more details on what he looked like, right? All right, what else? The fact that he looks familiar, but they can't place him. This recommendation here, stay inside, keep doors locked, officers are on the way. The fact that they're in the kitchen, maybe. Do we need to know that their heart is racing? Do we need to know you're doing fine? No, we don't need those things, right? Those are feelings. We don't need those things. This part though, the knocking softly, and this part, Susan, right? And this suggestion, could he be at the wrong house? And then realization, Mr. Jenkins. Next door, elderly, forgetful, right? Carefully lets him know he's at the wrong door, right? And then maybe this part too, what he's well, a summary of what he says, I guess, and then right. So we do need the events, the things that took place, right? But we will need to add in a couple names as well. Right. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes here to please take some notes of the event. Right. So this is what you're doing now, taking notes. Because when we change the slide, we won't be able to see it anymore. Right. So if I were you, I would sketch out. You don't need every single word that's highlighted. I would sketch out try for 4 or 5 things that happened. Right. Okay, I'm pausing the recording to give you some time to do that. Officer Freddie, no, we're not calling the Officer Freddie. Sebastian, okay, we can work with that. Maria. Maria Sebastian. Okay, no problem. Okay, so when we are writing a report, right, we head it up like a formal letter, right? So what's the scenario here? We're writing a report. So you are the visiting officer. Right? Write a report of what happened based on the call that was made, right? So remember they said in the dialogue that officers were dispatched. So the officer who was dispatched, what did he find or she find when they reached the scene? All right, that's what we're trying to figure out. So if we start with start in the format like a formal letter, I'll have to make this smaller and make the font bigger for us to see. That will work. Okay. All right, so we are the officer and we are writing the letter, but you know what? Instead of it being the officer, because I want to use a different address, so you're the visiting officer, I'm gonna say collect a report. From the caller describing what happened. Yeah, describing what happened, right? All right. So the caller is describing what happened. So I need a name for the caller. I know anything they use Michelle as a name, which was I don't know if because I wrote it text to talk decided to use my name, but that's okay. Mary, okay, and what's her last name? All right, so I'm gonna put Brown because that's what was suggested, right? But you could put whatever name you want. And the address. Now, what was the address of the caller? It was 42 Maple Street, right? 42 Maple Street, right. You could change the name to suit, all right. So 42 Maple, oops, I have 43. 42 Maple Street. Now we need a city that the person was calling from or a village, right? So I'm going to put Central Village. Or you can put Central Town or you can put your town, you put whatever you want. Just don't put something too fictional. Like from a movie, fictional, right? And also let's keep the address in the Caribbean. Okay, so that done, we're going to put the date. So I'm going to skip a line for the date. And today's date is 16th September 2025, right? Then I'm going to put who it's addressed to, right? So Mr. Somebody give me his name earlier, Sebastian. Oh God, I forget what his last name was, they said, but I'll go with Picton, right? And instead of Mr., because the person is an officer, I should put their title. So we could put in sergeant, we could put police officer, So we can put officer. It really depends on how the person we could put corporal. It depends on how the title is in the particular country, area, jurisdiction. When you get a question, most likely you will get instructions on how to give them a title, right? But it's their job title. Okay, yeah, we can say sergeant. The sergeant sounds better. All right, so Sergeant Sebastian Picton. Then what else do we need to put? Probably the police station they're attached to, right? So I'm gonna put Central Village Police Station, right? And I didn't have a street name. So 55 Central Main Road, Central Village, right? You are welcome to use your particular area. Yes, Lake Road would be fine, right? Um, and then we skip a line and we say, dear, well, who are we writing to? We're writing to Mr. Sebastian Picton, well, Sergeant Sebastian Picton. So we will say, dear sir, right? Or you can say, dear Sergeant Picton. So these are the options. Dear sir, dear Sergeant Picton, dear Mr. Picton, right? Choose one, not all. And the next thing I would want us to do is to write a subject line, right? Actually, let me put the subject line up here. Sometimes the subject line is placed on top and sometimes the subject line is placed after the dear whomever, but I think it might be more common to see it on top. So let me put it on top. So incident at 42 Maple Street, right? Because I was in home, right? And I need to center this. Cool. All right, let me make it so everybody can see everything that is on this page. This is not how I do that. Yeah, okay, so now I can reduce the font a bit, right? So this is our heading for the report. Now I'm gonna put some notes on what we did on the side here, right? Right, so this is the writer of the report. They go first. Right? This is the date. This is the person it's going to. This is the receiver, the recipient. But I'm going to write receiver because recipient is a less common word, right? And so we have their name. Well, we have the date first, right? Now also notice the format of the date. We do not write slashes. So we do not write 16/9/25, right? No. Wrong. Bad, terrible. Don't do that, right? No. We write out, and actually you could leave out the TH. This always seems strange to people, but you could leave out the TH. If you put it in at this stage, not a big deal, right? But eventually you'll want to leave out the TH. So I'll take it out for now. See, you write out the month in full and you write out the year, right? What else? We have the person's name. Right? So all we'll be able to get through for right now is the heading, but that's okay. The name of the station, the business, in this case is a station, right? The police station. but basically business name. And then we have their address. And we have, well, this is the other part of the address, right? All right, so person's name and position. Now, we wrote Sergeant Sebastian Picton, right? Another thing we could have done, I'm just going to show you, if you already have Sergeant Sebastian Picton, no problem. Mr. Sebastian Picton, and then afterwards, you put the job position, the title, right? Okay, this is called a subject line. Now, I have skipped a line before it, and I have skipped a line after it. Your teacher is going to give you guidance. In fact, some teachers may not even ask for a subject line. And since you all are in lower forms, just do what the teacher asks, because right now they are marking your paper, right? If some of you are in upper forms, you should plan to put in for a report a subject line, right? And the subject line briefly states what the report will be about, right? So it's not a full sentence, and it takes practice to be able to write this properly, right? So it's not a full sentence, it's basically the topic of the report, right? And then we have this is called the salutation. Okay, so in this case, it was a man, so we said, Dear Sue. We could also say his title and Dear Sergeant Picton. We could also, if it's like doctor, you would say Dear Dr. Picton. You wouldn't say Dear Dentist Picton, because we don't generally address people as dentists, right? So if the title could go in front of the name, you could put it. Right? And there, Mr. Picton is another option. If you don't know the gender of the person, you could also write Dear Sir or Madam, right? You could write Dear Mrs. Picton, assuming that was what was called for. It's a married lady whose last name is Picton. You could write Dear Miss Picton. I'm watching the time. I know. We're almost out of time. If the person is unmarried, so married, Mrs. for unmarried. And then, yeah, Ms. Picton, MS dot, if you don't know whether the person is married or not, right? So it's either married. So MS dot is not short for MISS, right? This is when you don't know. And so you just say Ms. MS dot, right? Okay, any questions about this? So you need to take on the example, you need to take on the notes on the side, right? But that's what you've been doing, so that's okay. There is more than one way to spell sergeant. It is possible. I spelled it both ways. Yeah, I've seen I spelled it both ways in the one is American and one is British. And honestly, I need to check up to see which is which, because I can't remember right now whether the A is British or the E is British. I can't remember. One is American, one is British. So I'll make a note to check that for next time. Right? So we've gone over so far. So you've taken notes on what has to go in the report. And we've gone over so far how we head up and we start the report, right? If you have any questions, you can remain to ask them. Remember, homework, it's not the report. Homework is to try the comprehension, right? Next week, I'm going to assign a report to you for homework. But next week in class, we're going to finish out writing this report as an example. And then you will have one assigned to you for homework, and you'll have 2 weeks to complete it. Okay? Right, so once you're done with the notes and the example, you all are free to go. and you'll enjoy the rest of your evening, right? If you have questions, you can remain to ask them.